Join me as I dive into the wild world of time loops and attempt to see what happens when they go completely wrong. Time loops, a staple of science fiction that can be both fascinating and terrifying. We've seen them in movies, TV shows, and video games, where characters relive the same moment or day over and over again. But what happens when these loops go wrong? What if, instead of a harmless do-over, the loop spirals out of control, leading to catastrophic consequences? The problem is, when time loops malfunction, the stakes become incredibly high. Characters can find themselves trapped in a never-ending cycle, forced to relive the same moment for eternity. It's like being stuck in a never-ending nightmare, with no escape in sight. And to make matters worse, the consequences of these malfunctioning loops can be unpredictable, leading to disastrous outcomes that can destroy entire worlds. Imagine waking up every morning to find that the day before never happened, or worse, that every decision you made has been undone, leaving you to start from scratch again. It's a never-ending cycle of confusion and frustration, with no clear way to escape. And what about the emotional toll it takes on the characters involved? Trapped in a never-ending cycle, they're forced to relive the same emotions, the same fears, and the same anxieties, with no respite in sight. In such a scenario, the concept of time itself becomes distorted, and the character's grip on reality begins to slip. They're forced to question their own sanity, wondering if they're truly living in a never-ending loop, or if it's all just a product of their own paranoia. Let's take a look at some examples from popular media where time loops have gone awry. In the movie Edge of Tomorrow, Major William Cage finds himself reliving the same day over and over again, battling an alien invasion. But as the loop progresses, Cage begins to lose his grip on reality, questioning whether he's truly making progress or just stuck in an infinite cycle. In the TV show Russian Doll, Nadia Volkov finds herself reliving the same night over and over again as she tries to figure out what's happening to her. But as the loop progresses, Nadia's sense of identity begins to fracture, leaving her to question who she truly is. In the video game Life is Strange, Max Caulfield discovers she has the ability to rewind time, but soon finds herself trapped in a never-ending cycle, forced to relive the same moments over and over again. As the loop progresses, Max begins to realize that her actions have consequences, and that every decision she makes has a ripple effect on the world around her. But perhaps the most dramatic example of a time loop gone wrong is the movie Happy Death Day. Here, Tree Gelbman finds herself reliving the same day over and over again, trying to figure out who's killing her and why. But as the loop progresses, Tree's sense of reality begins to distort, and she's forced to confront the darker aspects of her own psyche. In Happy Death Day, the stakes are incredibly high, as Tree's very existence hangs in the balance. The emotional toll of the time loop is immense, as Tree's forced to relive the same trauma, the same fears, and the same anxieties with no clear way to escape. As we've seen, malfunctioning time loops can create chaos and complexity in storytelling. They raise questions about the nature of time itself and the human experience. They challenge our characters to confront the darkest aspects of their own psyche and to question their own grip on reality. So, what have we learned today? That time loops can be both fascinating and terrifying, and that when they go wrong, the consequences can be catastrophic. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the wild world of time loops gone wrong. If you've got a favorite time loop story, share it with us in the comments below. And if you want to explore more mind-bending themes and ideas, be sure to check out my other videos on similar topics.